Welcome to the Daily Stoic Dose. Before starting this video, make sure please subscribe, like and share this video to reach out most authentic Stoic content. Need your support, thanks. Part 1. Psychology shows women decide long before you think. Most men think attraction happens in a single moment, a spark in her eyes, a smile across the table, that maybe, if you say the right thing, or look the right way, something just clicks, and suddenly, she decides she wants you. But that's not how it works. Psychology shows something entirely different, something quieter, slower, but far more deliberate. A woman's decision to be intimate with a man doesn't come from impulse. It's not born out of the heat of the moment or some cinematic spark of passion. It's formed through a silent, invisible process, a mental checklist that starts building from the very first second she meets you, before the first touch, before the first kiss, before she even realizes she's thinking about you. Her mind is already calculating, not with logic, but with emotion, energy, and how you make her feel. Each word, each reaction, each small behavioral detail, it either moves you closer or quietly removes you from the running. And the truth is, she knows her answer long before you ever think she does. So in this series, we're going to break down the 8 hidden factors that decide whether she'll ever see you as a man she could sleep with, or just another passing face. And brother, if you grasp these, you'll stop chasing attraction and start creating it. 1. How you react to awkward silence. There's a moment that happens in almost every interaction. The conversation dips, the words stop flowing, the air grows heavy, and for a split second, you don't know what to say. Most men panic here. They rush to fill the space with nervous chatter, jokes, questions, or random words just to escape the discomfort, because silence feels like failure. But to a woman's subconscious mind, your reaction in that silence reveals everything. See, silence is tension. It's the emotional pause between two hearts trying to synchronize, and in that stillness, your energy speaks louder than any sentence could. If you become anxious, her mind picks up on it instantly. It signals one thing: this man cannot handle pressure. He folds under emotional weight. But if you can breathe through that silence, even look into her eyes, maybe offer a small, calm smile, something powerful happens. Her brain registers that calmness as safety. It says, he doesn't fear tension, he controls it. And that small, wordless exchange creates trust on a primal level. Because deep down, attraction isn't about constant comfort, it's about feeling safe inside discomfort. That's why confident men often say less. They don't fill every space with words, they let silence do part of the work. Because silence, when you own it, becomes magnetic. It tells her that you can sit in uncertainty, the same uncertainty that comes with vulnerability, intimacy, and real emotional connection. And the moment she feels safe being silent next to you, she begins to feel safe being herself next to you, and that's where the first seed of desire takes root. 2. The way you treat waiters and strangers. It's cliché to say be nice to waiters, but it's not about politeness, it's about tone. A woman notices how your energy changes around people who have no reason to please you: the server who messes up your order, the Uber driver who takes a wrong turn, the stranger who bumps into you on the street. You might think she's focused on you, but often, she's studying how you handle power. Because how you treat someone beneath your social advantage reveals how you'll treat her when you no longer need to impress her. See, arrogance disguised as confidence is one of the biggest turn-offs in human psychology, but grounded dominance, calm, composed respect, that's her. When you stay patient, polite, and steady even when you could be dismissive, it tells her something her instincts love: this man has control. He doesn't lose himself when he's inconvenienced. That single trait, emotional control under irritation, is one of the core signals of masculine stability. It taps directly into the part of her brain wired for safety and trust. Because whether she realizes it or not, every woman is testing this. Can I trust this man in chaos? Can I relax around him when things go wrong? And the answer doesn't come from what you say to her, it comes from how you treat the world around you. When you speak to strangers with quiet authority, no ego, no need to dominate, it shows inner peace. That balance is what makes her lean in, not your charm, not your looks, but your tone. Because energy doesn't lie. When your words and demeanor match, calm, kind, but firm, she sees a man grounded in his own presence, and that steadiness builds an unspoken emotional trust, the kind that slowly turns respect into desire. 3. Your relationship with your own body, this one's deeper than most men realize. It's not about abs or muscles or a fit look, it's about something far more primal, how you live inside your own skin. A man's relationship with his body mirrors his relationship with his emotions. If you're constantly adjusting your clothes, apologizing for your posture, or fidgeting with nervous energy, it tells her one thing: you're uncomfortable being seen, and no matter how well you talk, that discomfort leaks through, because attraction doesn't come from perfection, it comes from comfort, from a man who moves as though he's not trying to prove anything. You can be tall or short, lean or solid, it doesn't matter. What matters is whether you own your space. When you stand, when you sit, when you walk, do you move like a man apologizing for existing, or like one who knows he belongs everywhere he goes? Women subconsciously notice posture, rhythm, and breath far more than men realize. Your body language whispers confidence long before your words ever do. A man who's relaxed in his frame, slow movements, calm breathing, no overcompensation, radiates stability. It signals that he's at peace within himself, and that peace is magnetic, because when you're comfortable in your own skin, she feels comfortable in hers. You become the emotional anchor in the room, the energy she can rest in. And in a world full of insecure noise, that grounded silence is intoxicating. Pause, the narrator lowers his voice. See, most men think attraction is about what they do, but the truth, it's about what they don't do. They don't chase, they don't fill silence, they don't lose composure in chaos, they don't fidget or beg for validation, they exist, calmly, steadily, without trying to perform. That's what draws her in, because it's rare. Interlude, the invisible game. Every woman runs a quiet emotional scan the moment she meets a man. She's not judging his wealth, his looks, or his job title, at least, not consciously. What she's really scanning for is emotional alignment. Does this man make me feel stable or uncertain? Does his presence amplify my peace or disturb it? Does he feel like someone who could lead me through chaos, not by controlling me, but by being unshaken when the world shakes? That's the real game, and it's not about pretending to be unbothered, it's about becoming a man who genuinely is, because the feminine energy is chaos, beautiful, emotional, alive, and the masculine energy is order, calm, controlled, grounded. When they meet, harmony happens. But if you're chaotic too, overthinking, nervous, reactive, she can't relax, because now, there's no anchor, no grounding. That's why she's drawn to calm men, not the loudest, not the most charming, but the ones who can hold emotional space without flinching. It's not about dominance, it's about presence. 4. The power of mental surprise. Tease at the end of part 1, the narrator hints at what's next. There's another piece to this puzzle, one most men never even think about. A woman's mind needs stimulation just as much as her emotions need safety. If she can predict everything you'll say, she loses interest long before attraction ever becomes physical, because comfort without curiosity becomes boredom. In part 2, we'll dive deep into how mystery, unpredictability, and emotional tension awaken the side of her brain responsible for desire, and how to use your words, pauses, and silence to create an emotional imprint she can't forget. Calm outro tone. If you've made it this far, you're not like most men. You're searching for something deeper, the psychology behind attraction, not the surface tricks, and that's exactly what separates the ordinary from the magnetic. Tap that like button if this resonated with you. Leave a comment with one thing you'll start practicing today. Maybe it's silence, posture, or patience, and stay tuned for part 2, because that's where we step into the darker side of attraction, the one that happens in her mind, long before she realizes she's thinking about you. Part 2, the hidden mind games of female attraction. She doesn't fall for you when you talk, she falls for you when you make her think. And she decides to be with you, not when you impress her, but when you awaken something inside her that she didn't know was sleeping. Every woman has a hidden layer in her psychology, a silent space where emotion meets curiosity. That's where attraction truly begins, and that's where we start the next part of this journey. 4. Whether you can surprise her mind. Most men are predictable, they follow patterns that every woman has already seen 100 times. compliments, small talk, predictable humor, flirting that feels like a checklist instead of a conversation. They speak to impress her, not to move her. But the truth is, attraction dies the moment she can read you like a script, because the feminine mind feeds on curiosity. It needs something new, something that makes her pause and think, wait. What was that? That tiny moment of surprise, that flicker of mental stimulation, creates intrigue, and intrigue is the seed of desire. Think about it, when was the last time someone truly surprised her emotionally, not with grand gestures, but with words that hit differently, with perspective that challenged her, with silence that made her feel seen? If she can predict every move you'll make, her emotions stay asleep. But when you say something that reframes her view, when you introduce a calm but mysterious energy, her curiosity awakens. It's not about playing games, it's about showing her depth. You become unpredictable not because you're trying to confuse her, but because you live with awareness. You think before you speak, you don't repeat what everyone else says, you speak from reflection, say less, but say things that matter, ask questions that make her reveal sides of herself she's never shared, hold eye contact when she talks about something emotional, not to dominate, but to understand. She begins to feel that you see her in ways others don't, and that kind of connection, that psychological mirror, becomes addictive. When a woman can't quite categorize you, she keeps thinking about you. When you don't chase, but you also don't vanish, when you exist in that mysterious balance, you occupy her mind like a riddle she wants to solve. That's the secret. Desire isn't built through constant attention, it's built through mental engagement. Because the moment you stop being predictable, you stop being forgettable. Pause, narrator's tone shifts deeper, softer. She won't admit it, but what pulls her toward you is not the words you say, it's the way you make her question what's happening inside her, when her heart and her logic don't align. That's when attraction starts to bloom. 5. How you end an interaction. Most men put all their focus on the first impression. They obsess over how to start strong, what to say, how to make her laugh, how to create instant chemistry. But what psychology shows is the opposite. Women remember the ending far more than the beginning, because endings leave emotional residue. When you walk away, when the conversation fades and you say goodbye, her brain does something fascinating. It replays the final moment in slow motion, how your voice sounded, how your energy felt, whether your exit felt open or final. If you linger too long, if you over-explain or hesitate to leave, she feels the neediness beneath it. It tells her you need something from her, validation, reassurance, approval, and that breaks the magnetic tension. But if you end calmly, decisively, maybe even with a light smile and quiet eye contact, her subconscious registers confidence. You've just said without words, I enjoyed this, but I'm not waiting on it. And that tiny psychological imprint, that energy of being content either way, makes her think of you later, because most men chase her attention until it dies. You left when it was still glowing. That's how you plant yourself in her mind, not through grand endings, but through clean ones. Imagine this. You're in a conversation that's going well, laughter, rhythm, flow, then you check the time, smile, and say, I've got to head out, but this was fun. Let's continue another time. Then you walk away, slow and composed. She doesn't feel rejected, she feels curious, she feels the sudden gap your absence created, and the human mind always tries to fill gaps, especially emotional ones. That's why she keeps replaying the moment after you leave, not because of what you said, but because of how she felt when you said nothing more. This is why mystery works, not because it's manipulation, but because it's psychological balance. You gave her energy, but you didn't overstay, you let her feel something. And then you left her with the echo of it. That echo is attraction, because real attraction is never about constant presence, it's about the silence that follows your presence. Tone shift, calm, philosophical, that's the masculine art of exit, to leave her with more emotion than explanation, because if she's still thinking about you after you're gone, you've already won half the battle. 6. Your ability to let her talk herself into it. Here's where most men destroy the connection. Without realizing it, they think attraction is built through persuasion, through convincing her to like them. They talk too much. They explain their value, they try to prove why they're worth her time, but psychology says something completely different. A woman doesn't decide while you're talking, she decides while she's talking. when she's expressing herself, her thoughts, her emotions, her stories, she's subconsciously scanning your presence. She's not listening to your words, she's feeling your energy. If you interrupt, steer the topic, or try to impress her mid-conversation, you break the spell. But if you listen, truly listen, without trying to lead her emotions, she begins to do something powerful. She convinces herself, she starts telling stories that align with her own desire. She starts revealing parts of herself that only emerge around people she feels safe with, and in doing that, she bonds with you emotionally, even if you say very little. That's why the most attractive men often speak the least. They give her space to talk herself into attraction, because when the decision feels like hers, it becomes 10 times stronger. Think of it like this: you're not trying to sell yourself. You're creating a space where she feels something real, and her mind begins to justify it. Every emotion a woman feels near you must feel like her own idea. That's what makes it powerful. If you say, "You like me, don't you?" it's ruined. If she says, "I don't know why, but I just feel comfortable around you," that's gold, because now, her emotions and her logic are working together, and that's the rare alignment that leads to real intimacy. So stop trying to convince her, just listen, let her speak, let the silence breathe, let her fill that silence with her own words, her own stories, until she begins to feel like she chose you, because in her mind, she did. Narrator pauses, low music fades in. There's something sacred about a man who doesn't rush to fill every silence, something rare about a man who allows presence to do the talking. In those moments, she doesn't feel pressured, she feels safe, and safety is the foundation upon which attraction grows wild, because attraction isn't about what you do to her, it's about what she feels she's doing around you. Interlude, the power of emotional space. Let's break this down in a way no one tells you. Women crave emotional stimulation, yes, but they also crave space to express it. When a man fills every gap, when he chases every topic, when he talks just to keep her engaged, he smothers her natural curiosity. But when you pause, when you wait, you give her mind room to wander, and in that wandering, she starts imagining, she starts thinking about you. She starts connecting dots that weren't even there before. That's the real psychology of attraction, to create an emotional landscape, and then give her the space to walk through it on her own. Narrator lowers voice, reflective tone. So far, you've learned how silence builds tension, how calmness builds safety, and how stillness builds curiosity. But the next step is where it all converges, the moment chaos enters the scene. Because life doesn't always go as planned, and when things fall apart, the real test begins. In part 3, we'll uncover how a woman's attraction either amplifies or collapses when plans fail. How your reaction in uncertainty defines whether she sees you as a temporary thrill, or a man she can surrender to. Body and soul, soft outro tone. If you've made it this far, you're already thinking differently. You're seeing attraction for what it is, not a game, but a psychological dance, one built on silence, emotional awareness, and control. Tap that like button if this resonated. Leave a comment about the moment you realized silence speaks louder than words, and get ready, because part 3 will reveal the final 2 signals women subconsciously check before deciding if they'll ever sleep with you. Part 3, the silent test of chaos and the moment she feels herself around you. There's a moment every man faces, a moment that exposes who he really is. It doesn't come when things are going right, it comes when everything falls apart, because the truth is, women don't fall for you when life is smooth, they fall for you when the storm hits, when things don't go according to plan, when the mask of comfort slips and your raw nature steps forward. That's when she sees your essence. That's when her subconscious makes its final decision, and that brings us to the 7th hidden factor, the one that separates attraction from connection. 7. What you do when plans fall apart. The night was supposed to be perfect, dinner reservations, the right music, maybe a walk afterward, but the reservation got cancelled, the Uber was late, the sky opened up with rain that ruined everything you'd planned. Most men get frustrated, they complain, they let the irritation bleed through their tone, and without realizing it, they reveal something, their emotional instability. But then there's the rare man, the one who smiles in the chaos, who doesn't let broken plans break his energy, who laughs, shrugs, and says, "Guess the universe wanted a different kind of night." That's the moment her attraction deepens, because she sees something powerful. Most men try to make her feel something about them. They want her to think, he's confident. He's attractive. He's different. But the truth, she doesn't fall for you because of how you make her see you, she falls because of how you make her see herself. If she feels funnier, smarter, freer, more alive around you, you become her emotional mirror, you become the environment where she feels most like the person she loves being. That's why some men leave a lasting imprint, even years later, because they made her feel herself, not smaller, not judged, not filtered. When she's with you, does she relax? Does she talk without guarding every word? Does she laugh without checking your reaction first? If the answer is yes, then you've built what psychologists call emotional safety, the space where authenticity replaces performance, and once a woman feels safe being her authentic self, her emotional walls start to melt. That's when physical closeness becomes natural, effortless, inevitable. She starts seeking you, not for validation, but for peace, because your presence feels like home. That's the paradox of attraction most men never learn. You don't need to make her chase you, you need to make her relax around you, because when she can breathe around you, she starts craving that feeling again, and soon, she's not just attracted to you, she's addicted to what she feels when you're near. That's when the decision happens, silently, emotionally, completely, soft instrumental shift, narrator speaks slower, more intimate. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present. It's not about control, it's about calmness. It's not about charm, it's about connection. You don't need to be her fantasy, you just need to be the man who makes her feel safe being real, because the truth is, a woman's deepest desire isn't to find a man who excites her, it's to find a man she can exhale around. Her body will follow, not out of logic, but instinct, because attraction isn't a choice, it's a recognition. When she feels seen, safe, and subtly challenged, her defenses dissolve, and her desire awakens. That's the psychology behind it all. Soft background fade, narrator's tone turns reflective, almost poetic. So next time you're with her, don't perform, don't chase, don't overthink, just be calm in silence. Be kind to strangers, be comfortable in your body, be unpredictable enough to spark her mind, be decisive in your exits, be patient enough to let her talk, be playful in chaos, and be present enough to make her feel at home inside herself, because when she feels more like her around you, she'll crave you more than the man who makes her feel something about him. That's the paradox most men never master. That's the reason psychology says, women don't decide to sleep with you in the moment, they decide quietly, long before. Outro, the awakening of presence, music swells softly, a sense of conclusion and mastery. So brother, understand this, the real attraction isn't physical, it's emotional, it's energetic. You can't fake it, you can only become it, become the man who doesn't flinch under silence, who doesn't crumble under chaos, who doesn't lose himself chasing someone else's validation, become the man whose calmness feels like safety, whose presence makes her forget her insecurities, whose stillness speaks louder than any line ever could, because when you master yourself, you master the room, and when you master the room, you master her attention. Tone deepens for closing line, cinematic ending. That's the quiet truth psychology reveals. She doesn't decide in the moment, she decides when your presence makes her feel peace, when your silence makes her feel safe, when your energy makes her feel alive. That's when she chooses you, long before she ever says it out loud. In the end, please subscribe my channel.